Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Wow. Is that another record for the smallest crowd? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, I wonder, the last few days that I tried to listen online, we hardly could hear. I don't know if it's better today, if they got it fixed or what. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, Text 31. Correct? Bahubhyo avartata chatram chatriyas tad anuvrata yo jatas trayate varnan purushaha kantakchatat bahubhyo vartata chatram chatriyastad anuvrata yojatas trayate varnan purusha kantakchatat bahubhyo vartata chatram chatriyastad anuvrata yojatas trayate varnan purusha kantakchatat. Yojatas trayate varnan purusha kantakchatat bahubhyo vartata chatram chatriyastad anuvrata jonatas trayate varnan purusha kantakchatat. Anyone else? Bahubhya vartata chatram chatriyastad anuvrata yojatas trayate varnan purusha kantakchatat. Bahubhya, from the arms of Vartata, generated. Chatram, the power of protection. Kshatriya, in relation to the power of protection. Tat, that. Anuvrata, followers. Ya, one who. Jata, so becomes. Trayate, delivers. Varnan, the other occupations. Purusha, representative of the personality of Godhead. Kantaka, of disturbing elements like thieves and debauchees. Chatat, from the mischief translation. Thereafter, the power of protection was generated from the arms of the gigantic Virat form, and in relation to such power, the Kshatriyas also came into existence by following the Kshatriya principles of protecting society from the disturbance of thieves and miscreants. Repeat. Thereafter, the power of protection was generated from the arms of the gigantic Virat form, and in relation to such power, the Kshatriyas also came into existence by following the Kshatriya principle of protecting society from the disturbance of thieves and miscreants. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As the Brahmanas are recognized by their particular qualification of inclination towards the transcendental knowledge of Vedic wisdom, so the Kshatriyas are recognized by the power to protect society from the disturbing elements of thieves and miscreants. The word anuvrata is significant. A person who follows the Kshatriya principles by protecting society from thieves and miscreants is called a Kshatriya, not the one who is simply born a Kshatriya. The conception of the caste system is always based on quality and not on the qualification of birth. Birth is an extraneous consideration. It is not the main feature of the orders and divisions. In the Bhagavad Gita, 18:41 and 42, the qualifications of the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras are specifically mentioned, and it is understood that all such qualifications are needed before one can be designated as belonging to a particular group. Lord Vishnu is always mentioned as the Purusha in all Vedic scriptures. Sometimes the living entities are also mentioned as Purusha, although they are essentially Purusha Shakti, Pada Shakti, or Pada Prakriti, the superior energy of the Purush. Illusioned by the external potency of the Purush, the Lord, the living entities falsely think of themselves as a Purusha, although they actually have no qualifications. The Lord has the power to protect. Of the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, the first has the power to create, the second has the power to protect, and the third has the power to destroy. The word Purusha is significant in this verse because the Kshatriyas are expected to represent the Purusha Lord in giving protection to the Praja, or all those who are born in the land and water. Protection is therefore meant for both man and animals. In human society, the Praja are not protected from the hands of thieves. In modern society, the Prajaps are not protected from the hands of thieves and miscreants. The modern demoniac state, which has no Kshatriyas, is a government of the Vaishyas and Shudras, and not of Brahmins and Kshatriyas as formerly. Maharaj Yudhishthira and his grandson Maharaj Parikshit were typical Kshatriya kings, for they gave protection to all men and animals. When the personification of Kali attempted to kill a cow, Maharaj Parikshit prepared himself to kill the miscreant, and the personification of Kali was banished from his kingdom. That is the sign of a Purusha, or the representative of Lord Vishnu. According to Vedic civilization, a qualified Kshatriya monarch is given the respect of the Lord because he represents the Lord by giving protection to Praja. Modern elected presidents cannot even give protection from theft cases. Therefore, one has to take protection from an insurance company. The problem of modern human society are due to lack of qualified brahmanas and kshatriyas and over-influence of the Vaishyas and Shudras by so-called general franchise. Wow. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chaksuramili Tanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tadane Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namaha Namo Maha Vadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai. So this one at least has a lot of information in it. The verses that are referred to, Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Sudranam Cha Parantapa Karmani Pravibhaktani Swabhava Prabhavaya Gunai, is Bhagavad Gita. Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their natures in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemy. Samodhamas tapakso cham chantir arjavam eva cha gyanam vigyanam astikyam brahma karma swabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the brahmanas work. If we want to call ourselves a brahmana, we have to check. Peaceful, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. Then Shoryam Tejo Dratir Daksham Yude Chap Yapalayanam Danam Ishvara Bhavascha Chatram Karma Swabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities for Kshatriyas. Krishi Goraksha Vanijam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam Padicharyatmakam Karma Sudrasyapi Swabhavajam. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work of the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras there is labor and service to others. So everything is there, and it's guna karma, not according to birth at all, but we were hearing yesterday that the demons of the previous age became brahmanas in Kali Yuga, and they started this, by birth idea. And you can't be, you're stuck. Whatever family you're born in, it doesn't matter what your qualities are. You're a Sudra. You can't be a Brahmin. And if you're born in a so-called Brahmin family, we see that today, even they have no qualities, are considered Brahmanas by many foolish people. business, it says for Vaishyas, but it's not just any business. The business that's referred to is agriculture, trading, the crops and those kind of things, cloth and not oil and the Sudra businesses, and whiskey and all this. Now the rich people, so-called businessmen, are selling all kinds of illicit things, poisonous drugs, whiskey dealers. Someplace I was, a devotees community, they said one of the Indian leaders of the community is a South Indian Brahmin family, and he owns a chain of liquor stores or something, and some of them own submarine sandwich shops, and they're businessmen, they're Vaishya. They have a lot of money, and they become influential. So in this purport we just read, Prabhupada really really gets into it. Of all the different things that are going on in the world. So the government nowadays is the thieves. This is described in the 12th canto, that the expertise of the government is taxation. The expert at taxing the people and taking all their money in different ways like that, and cheating and getting rich themselves. And we hear in America how much these congressmen, they work very few hours actually, and they get very big salaries for the rest of their life, and all kinds of things. And someone joins the army to fight for the country, they get almost nothing. And so it's a very crazy situation now, Kali Yuga. Maharaj was talking yesterday, how things are. The farmers, they're being exploited. Many farmers, they don't grow anything for their own food. They grow things for selling. And they get cheated all the time in all kinds, in so many countries. And we don't need to get into all the details, but the government is expert. And they're expert at what's called a voluntary tax, gambling. Gambling has a big tax, but people are happy to pay that tax because somehow they're thinking they can win. They're gonna, and then they won't ever have to work again. We see these signboards on the road. I saw the other day some lottery up to $500 million. I don't know if anybody ever wins it, but there's one guy at Union Square that's a Gujarati, and he took some books, and he's quite nice, and he has one of those little kiosks, and so I was waiting for him, and some guy came and just plopped down $100 and bought two $50 tickets to two different lotteries. And then a woman came up behind and asked him, what's a good one, And then he said, you have as much chance of winning as, getting hit by lightning or something. But still, he's like every day buying $100, thinking maybe he'll win. And so somebody's making a lot of money. But they say that that these lotteries, and they give a lot of charity, so it's actually a pious activity to gamble. Uh, Isn't it? They advertise like that. That they'll say how much charity the lottery gave last year to help this or that. So it's a crazy world. So I wanted to ask anyway that, I was thinking if, I'm trying to speak in front of exalted devotees, and what do I know? But if Krishna will kindly, if we can somehow surrender and let Krishna speak through us, then Krishna can do that. So we just try to repeat what we've heard, even though we have no hope of. Like Rupa Goswami said, I have no taste for Krishna or anything, nor do I even have any taste for the process to develop love of Godhead or anything like that. Asa bandha, great hope. But even that great hope is giving me some kind of, hope. So if Rupa Goswami can somehow or other, feel like that, then what about us, But we might think, oh yeah, I really like this, but these kind of purports, I find fascinating and easy to understand, how the world is such an insane place with this demon crazy. Prabhupada called this democracy, demon crazy, because unqualified people that don't know anything are voting. In Indonesia, they had one dictator for 50 years. So they had election, but there was only one party. Or there was two parties, but it was the same. But then finally he had a stroke or something. Finally, so they had a election, and the first time there was something like, because it was new, 36 political parties running for the new prime minister, and we passed a voting place, and these people, illiterate people, they're sitting there, and the person just hold up this sheet with this 36 pictures of candidates. Said, who do you want to vote for? So whichever one had the most money to put signboards up around the country or get on television or something, In America, I read one reporter that was saying that if somebody in a foreign country would witness this American presidential campaign, nobody would ever want to have a democracy, because it's just so, it's just millions of dollars for television commercials, basically, and just insulting the other candidate. Isn't it? It's unbearable, and it's demon crazy. And people know. Even in Bali one time, I went in some kind of shop, and they were watching television, and it was some kind of like semi-comedy drama or something, and I don't know, but you could see that the faces they had, they were the famous politicians. And then it flashed up. The name of the show was Demon Crazy. Something like that. And democracy. And everybody's just laughing, but still they keep voting and they keep believing that when they get a new party, things are going to be better, and it never happens. So we are trying to rise above it, and we need to really focus on this, purifying ourselves and doing something for the people. There's no way that we can, immediately change the whole economic system. We heard last night, eventually some people will have to, maybe by force, have to, grow their own food and live more simply. But they've conditioned everybody that it, you can live so nicely. You go to places like Dubai, Singapore, there's no season for food there. The thing is, everything's imported from all over the world. So they always have mangoes and they always have everything. And you can find any kind of, cuisine in the supermarket, you might like here in another country. And there's no farming. Just commerce, business, airlines, and tourism, and restaurants, and all kinds of those kind of things. So people are thinking everything's fine. So Kshatriyas are supposed to be recognized by their power to protect society from the disturbing elements of thieves and miscreants. But according to Bhagavatam in Kali Yuga, the Kshatriyas, they're not really Kshatriyas, but they have the power. Like Ravana was Kshatriya, great fighter and everything, but, demon. He was exploiting people. He was stealing the wives of other men. And when Sita chastised him, he said, "What's wrong with that? This is Rakshasa culture. I'm following strictly." So this is how they're trained. You rise up, somehow or other, you get a position, you get some power, and then you can exploit everybody. You can tax them to death, and you can, do all kinds of things, whatever you want, for your own benefit. Whereas a real Kshatriya, he's working for the benefit of the people. So Kshatriya should be protecting society from thieves and miscreants. That's a real Kshatriya. Not just born a Kshatriya. Not just born a Brahmin, so-called Brahmana, or a Sharma, or a Bhattacharya, or whatever. There's so many different parts of India, and different names. And they're all working in the bank, and, they're not doing any kind of Brahminical thing. So everything is based on the qualities. For a devotee, Lord Chaitanya said, "I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Sudra, I'm not a Kshatriya," not any of those things, and not any of these designations. Even though a devotee might be working in different fields, he's not any of those things. He's a Vaishnava, he's above it all. Birth is an extraneous consideration. So we read, what the Kshatriyas are supposed to be brave in battle, but like in America, the President of the United States is supposed to be the chief of the military, but, he's never been to any kind of battle except in the election campaign. And if there is a war, they have a, 1,000 feet underground bunker to protect the Kshatriyas, the leaders. They don't really fight. Like in the Battle of Kurukshetra, the oldest generals, they were fighting. The big Kshatriyas, Bhishma and Drona and Yudhisthira, the kings, everybody was actually out on the battlefield leading the way. So one can be qualified. Vishnu is protection, maintenance. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. We find it's not easy, creating something. Many people can do that, but to maintain something and destroying things very easy. Can destroy whole cultures. Kali Yuga is destroying whole cultures very quickly. We've seen that. That's why Prabhupada, he said he was instructed to preach outside of India to the English-speaking world, but he couldn't tolerate to see India going to hell. So he did his volunteer, extra, spontaneous service to try to preach in India, to revive their, I remember when I was first in India and I talking to one lady and a little bit trying to preach, and she said, let us get rich, let us get skyscraper buildings and big highways and everything, and then you can preach to us, And it happened. Now they have all those things, and they become very wealthy, but they don't know it's because of their previous culture of protecting cows. Now India doesn't protect cows either, and Prabhupada was saying but they would look at America and see, well, they kill so many cows. In Australia, they kill so many cows, but they're very opulent, so it probably is all right. People make propaganda that when will they wake up and realize it's really stupid to protect the cows? That's what the Western economic, when they went to India, they just said, you got to upgrade your slaughterhouses so you can export meat. So very insane world, But the living entities are not Purushas. That we're supposed to be Purusha Shakti. But we think we're Purusha. But they have no qualifications. This is Prabhupada's purport we just read. The Lord can protect. So Brahma creates, but he knows that he's not really the creator. He doesn't take credit like modern people. They so-called create something, some kind of technological thing that maybe wasn't exactly present before, and they take credit for it, put their name on it. They really feel like they did it. They're not giving any credit to the Supreme Lord, no mention of God or anything else, and thinking that they're doing something for society. We have change the way that the whole world communicates, right? And the person who put this all together, is considered like some sort of special person, but it hasn't really changed anybody. They're just, we can use this now to find a restaurant. That's what many people use it for. You can search, where's the best restaurant in this part of Brooklyn, or where can I get the best this or that, this type of food, this type of food. You can find anything, and you can buy anything quickly online, everything automatic. So, but same old eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Nothing has really changed, except that they're become much more efficient at killing babies, the most sinful activities, killing cows and killing babies, abortion, and those they've perfected it to high tech, cheap, fast. One year I was in India, and all the train had, it was always abortion private, quick, safe, fast, cheap, and just pushing it. They just, no problem, can have as much illicit sex as you want because we have very high-tech ways of eliminating the results. So you don't have to bother with the karma, but they don't know what they're getting into. And so we have to educate people, or to educate ourselves, and somehow or other, pray and whatever we can that, we can create what Prabhupada wanted, is a self-sufficient communities. Like we had one community, and still there, they considered themselves self-sufficient because everybody, went out all over the country collecting money in various crazy ways. And they said, we're self-sufficient. They weren't growing any food on their farm. The cows were dying because they wanted to make a show. So, but self-sufficient requires a whole change in what they call a new paradigm or something, because you can't just go to the Whole Foods and get whatever you want. You can only eat what happens to be growing at the time. There's different seasons. So people that live like that, sometimes they're eating only cabbage for, a few months or some time. And in the winter, only carrots and potatoes or something that they can keep underground. They have to get used to that. But now everybody's addicted and just get whatever you want. Just, we see now ads everywhere. And just call up and order the food, whatever meal you want. They'll bring it in a few minutes, right? All over we got these guys with delivering food from restaurants. So you don't have to even go to the restaurant. So they're just driving people, mad after sense gratification. So we have a, divine knowledge. Now if we can just apply that knowledge somehow or other, get some people to organize their life. So our temples, are organized like that. And what Prabhupada wanted, and we have farm, and the farm produces ghee, and then in the city there's a restaurant that uses ghee. Now we use oil, and we don't want to use any dairy products, right? It's gone insane. Like some people were thinking, well, we have to take certain things out from Prabhupada's books where he said women are less intelligent, or this, gender, this or that, different things Prabhupada said. But if you start thinking about it, take everything out, everything he said about dairy products and everything he said about, everything practically. So many people don't believe it or be offended by it. But we don't do that. We just present everything. Because what's really being presented is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Chant the holy name, chant the holy name, chant the holy name. And keep hearing about Pariksit. When the Kali was going to kill a cow, Pariksit was immediately ready to kill him. But at the same time, he was ready to forgive him when he was cowardly begging forgiveness. But he did, keep him out of his kingdom. As long as Pariksit was a king, Kali couldn't really function. But now Kali is going like full steam ahead. And the governments are representatives of Kali. If you want to know what's going on in the world, just read 12th Canto, Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. The symptoms of Kali Yuga and the Bhumi Gita. And it tells us everything about the corruption of the politicians and what they really are and how this is going on, and much more than you can find out by studying political science or anything in any university. You can find it all from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam very easily. So I will quit babbling, and hopefully somebody has something worthwhile to say or a stimulating question. Anybody?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a comment and a question. So I guess the comment is that you were mentioning the politicians, how they just speak bad about each other. And I kind of heard that, but I had first-hand experience last year. We went to a Trump rally. We were distributing books, and Donald Trump was there giving his speech. And we just happened to overhear the speech, and he was just talking about how bad Joe Biden was and how much of a useless leader he is. And that was his whole speech. And then my question is about these self-sustained communities. We hear, we read in Prabhupada's books. He described about Varnashram, self-sufficiency. We hear also a lot of leaders in our movements speaking about it. But how, for example, we're here in the city. How can we practically manifest that? A lot of people that are part of our congregation, they're working, paycheck to paycheck just to, be able to put food on their table. How can we convince them, or how can we practically see that this vision be fulfilled?
Well, that's why we just try to spread the holy name as much as possible. Many people, they're not going to be able to change their whole lifestyle. But they can change, at least give up the sinful activities, And so the main thing is Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva. Gatiranyata. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. The holy name has to be spread amongst everybody, no matter what their, even if Prabhupada, even if they want to chant Allah or Jehovah or whatever, but encourage them to chant more and to give up the sinful activities. Because this is what's causing so much trouble in the world. Anything else, Maharaj? You say something about that?
We have to present the whole philosophy because we can't predict what the future is going to be exactly. That if we have a vision that we can present to people, then at the proper time they may be able to participate in the practical aspects of that vision. We can't just look at the situation that people are under because they're in ignorance, they have little knowledge. But if they're given some vision, some knowledge, then in the future they might be able to take advantage of it. And amongst the people that we're preaching to, there may be some who become very enthusiastic and may take up in a practical way what we're talking about before things get so, anyhow, I think time is on our side. This modern civilization is going to collapse. The so-called paycheck we're getting regularly is going to dry up after some time. And therefore people need an alternative, and we have to present it before it's too late, not after it's too late.
Yeah. So this is his prayer. Asabandha means to continue to think, because I'm trying my best to follow the routine principles of devotional service. I'm sure that I will go back to Godhead, back to home. In this connection, one prayer by Rupa Goswami is sufficient to exemplify this hopefulness. He says, quote, I have no love for Krishna, nor for the causes of developing love for Krishna, namely hearing and chanting, and the process of bhakti yoga by which one is always thinking of Krishna and fixing his lotus feet in his heart is lacking in me. As far as philosophical knowledge or pious works are concerned, I don't see any opportunity for me to execute such activities. But above all, I am not even born in a nice family. Therefore, I must simply pray to you, Gopijana Ballava Krishna, Govinda, maintainer and the beloved of the gopis. I simply wish and hope that some way or other I may be able to approach your lotus feet. And this hope is giving me pain because I think myself quite incompetent to approach the transcendental goal of life. The purport is that under the heading of Asa Bandha, one should continue to hope against hope that some way or other he will be able to approach the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's, I like that one. But like you said, we're trying to present everything to anyone who will listen, especially that's why we try to give, and Prabhupada's purports do give all this information. And there are instances of people that just by reading some of Prabhupada's books actually take up trying to live a more normal life, or self-sufficient life. In some countries in the Eastern world, some groups of devotees have quite nice groups like that, and living together and farming and living real simple living and high thinking. We need to keep talking about that and trying to find anybody who can do it. And so many people are farmland into tourist attractions or something, not simple living and high thinking. But at least people can come and hear the holy name and for a few days chant and dance and, take prasadam. And so we just pray like anything and keep trying and keep this, spreading the holy name is essential. Whatever else, everything has to be done, and spreading the holy name definitely has to, be on. And we have to have faith and hope that even though we're so unqualified, something will happen. Rupa Goswami feels himself, not born in a good family and having no qualification and no taste for the process, but he's a person who's constantly chanting and writing so many books. But he has true humility. And Prabhupada was the perfect Rupanuga. And he gave us everything, he taught us everything, he wanted us to do, but we're so crazy. I remember this was years ago, and I went to one of our farms, and I had read about making ghee and having a restaurant and stuff, and I said, why don't you make ghee? No, we don't know how to make ghee. So the devotees had every day so much paneer for breakfast. And then after a while, everybody gets sick and the whole thing. And every Sunday they had ice cream. Somebody saved all the cream and they made ice cream and everybody had a huge ice cream feast. And so it all dried up, because Prabhupada gave us, what to do. With our schools, he told us what to do. He said how to do it. He said many things and we didn't follow. So we had so much trouble, So we just have to really get down and see how he told us and then pray and try to do it. Somebody just keep trying and talking about it and it can happen. Jai. So it's not any more comments or questions? Krishna Kripa. Ki Jai. Hari Bol.
There's places in the purports in the Gita toward the end, I believe Prabhupada says that the devotee doesn't have to worry about how to maintain body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. He just basically has to worry about always being engaged in Krishna's service. And it sounds like, practically unbelievable, but that was actually Prabhupada's realization, that he actually lived that way. And he needed to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, he needed thousands of people and millions of dollars. And he had no economic development program or anything. He just gave lectures on the philosophy, he chanted Hare Krishna, and he wrote these books. And then Krishna sent him not only what he needed to keep body and soul together, but what he needed to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. So it's very inspiring, Prabhupada's personal example and conviction and faith, that everything is possible just by devotional service.
Yeah, Prabhupada had nothing to depend on except the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He had to go out every day trying to sell the Bhagavatam to be able to buy one cauliflower or something. And he lived somehow or other. At first he had just some room somebody gave him and no bathroom or anything. And then gradually he saved and he could move. And his prayer was, if they can hear the message of Bhagavatam, I know they'll change. And so it worked. So many people changed their life and took up whatever Prabhupada was telling them to do at the time was, spread the holy name, distribute the books. So we went to the famous tree the other day. What did it save Earth now, right? It got to the headline. Prabhupada standing by that tree, So Prabhupada wasn't preaching, maybe devotees were saying, but somebody picked up on it, this is going to save the world. And nothing else is going to help it. Nothing but the holy name. Okay, so thank you all very much for tolerating, and let's remember this great hope, the beautiful prayer of Rupa Goswami. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.